is.
Good evening. Call the 7:30 p.m. meeting, June 12th, East China Township Board to order. Clerk, roll call, please.
Treasurer Hart.
Here.
Trustee Babel.
Here.
Trustee Blackstock.
Here.
Trustee Knotts.
Yeah.
Trustee Richley.
Here.
Clerk Matei here. Supervisor Western.
Here. Pledge allegiance. Pledge allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, the next item is agenda. Before you, there's a request from Cindy. We've been trying to get somebody to cut the lawns at various places, trying to find some summer help, and we can't do it. I think our next step should be we go ahead and get some bids on it and see if we can't get somebody to contract for those services. So I'd like to add that to the agenda. Also, there's nothing in front of you on here, but I'd like to also add to the agenda discussion about soliciting bids to replace the windows here at the Township Hall. We've been talking about it, and I'd like to try to get moving forward on that too. So we'll just add new business 6 for mowing and 7 for window replacement at Township Hall, please.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
Mr. Richley makes a motion.
I support.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes. Approve the minutes from the last meeting. Your attached packets. Any questions or comments on that? Motion would be in order to approve those.
So moved.
Support.
Support. Nicole. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Presentations, guest speakers. Mr. Tri-Hospital, EMS, how are you?
Thank you, Mr. Westrick, and good evening, everybody. I'm Ken Cummings. I am the president and CEO of Tri-Hospital EMS, and wanted to take an opportunity to come out and talk with you a little bit about the ambulance millage that is on the ballot for the August 2nd primary. Right off the bat, I did give you some literature there on it. You don't have to read it right now, but it does, I think, answer some of the questions that you might have. As I said, the ballot, the initiative is on the ballot for the August 2nd primary. The millage request is for a ½ mil, which would be applied strictly for ambulance services provided in St. Clair County. The millage is spread out over a 4-year period, so it would have to be renewed in 4 years if approved by the voters on August the 2nd. Essentially, how the millage tracks a little bit is for a homeowner, property assessed at about a taxable value of $100,000, home value of about $200,000 translates into about $50 per year is what the millage would cost citizens. We have never had an ambulance millage here in St. Clair County, and Tri-Hospital EMS has been your EMS provider here in East China Township since back in the mid-'80s. So we have been here for a very long time, provided service to the citizens of East China and much of St. Clair County. We serve 28 of the 32 municipalities in St. Clair County, so we are the largest provider. There are 2 other providers. One operates out of the city of Marysville, one operates out of Macomb County, out of Richmond area. Provide service to 4 communities on the west side of St. Clair County. So that's a little breakdown. Why are we looking for a millage? There have been a number of things occurring over the last several years. I'd love to say that this was COVID related, but quite frankly, it really predates COVID. We've operated, as I said, for about the last 40 years here in East China Township and throughout St. Clair County. And for the most part, we have operated what we refer to as a fee-for-service ambulance service. And what that simply means is that we have not relied on any tax funding whatsoever from the communities to support ambulance service until now. How we have generated all of our income to operate is through simply charging those individuals who use the service. And by having enough of the volume in the county for the last roughly 40 years, that payment methodology has worked and worked pretty well for us to be able to survive and to meet our expenses. However, Some things have been happening over the last several years that are really creating problems with that payment methodology that we use, and it's kind of forced us to look at alternative forms of funding or methods of funding. Costs are rising significantly. I'm pretty sure everybody in this room knows that. Everyone listening on TV is well aware of the rising costs of things. What makes ambulance service and, quite frankly, healthcare in general very unique as compared to most businesses, we don't have the ability, as our costs rise, we don't have the ability to increase our rates to compensate for those rising costs. Essentially, how ambulance service reimbursement works is that our payments from the payers, Medicare, Medicaid, Blue Cross, those are fixed amounts. We have no input whatsoever in how those rates are determined, or those reimbursement rates are determined by the payers. The payers set those rates. We're obligated then to operate our organizations within the amount that they provide us. And so when costs go up to our organization, we are really left with only two options. One is we have to cut service and reduce cost like any other business, or two, we have to go look for additional funds. And that's really the route that we've chosen at this point. Rising costs are occurring in every business and in just about every corner of the country these days. But for ambulance services, it's a little bit unique in that we actually began to see a pretty significant staffing shortage started about 3.5, 4 years ago. And today, as of about a year ago, we estimate that there are currently about 1,000 EMS positions that are vacant right now throughout the state of Michigan. Here in our county, we currently have about 12 positions that we cannot fill. For Mr. Westrick talking about trying to find lawn cutting people, we're in the same boat. We simply cannot hire people to fill the vacancies that we have within our workforce. And that translates into forcing us to either increase wages to try to recruit people, and quite frankly, one of the other kind of merging issues that occurred for us over the last couple of years is training. We have always, EMS people are required to be trained and licensed. You cannot just hire someone off the street to come in and work. They have to go through a rigorous training program. They have to pass a national registry exam before we can even consider them for employment. So the pool of people is limited to begin with. But one of the things that we're finding is that our primary training source for the last several years has been the community college. They were offering paramedic training through the college, and we were sending our people through that program and then engaging them or hiring them when they completed that program. Community college dropped their program in the summer of 2020. So we're lost with no training program to produce new candidates for employment. And so we are forced to go outside of St. Clair County to try to recruit personnel to come and work here in St. Clair County to serve our citizens. And as you can imagine, that's driving the cost of labor up significantly. In order for us to convince people to drive from Detroit, Macomb County, Lapeer, wherever it is we can find them, we've got to compete with wages that they're paying in the larger companies in the city. And quite frankly, with the budget that we have, we simply cannot do that. And so that's why our positions are going unfilled. And that's one of the major reasons why we need to look to the community and ask for additional funds so that we can keep our operation going. The second really important piece, and this is going to sound like it contradicts itself a little bit, but let me explain it before I go too far. We need to actually add ambulances in the field. We've seen demand for ambulance service in this county go up by 31% spread out over the last 10 years. That translates into about a 5 to 6% increase each and every year, which means that more citizens are dialing 911 requesting ambulance services. So that means that we have to have ambulances available to respond to those requests. Now, the problem with a lot of those requests are that being a system that simply finances itself under fee for service, as I mentioned earlier, if we don't transport someone, we don't get paid. So if we respond to a call, but that call does not translate into a transport, there's no one for me to bill. We cannot bill anyone. So insurances only pay when a patient is physically transported to a facility in the ambulance. So we have seen the amount of demand for service for lift assists for people who fall and cannot get up on their own, have no family available. They call 911, we respond. We have to have resources deployed, available 24/7 to provide that service, but we simply are not getting reimbursed for that. So we're incurring the cost of providing the service, but quite frankly, we're not generating the revenue to support the cost of that service. And so that really is the second major issue that has led us to this particular point in asking the public to support our operation or support EMS in the entire county. The third and final thing, and I touched on it a moment ago, is we have got to bring our training back to St. Clair County. And so while the college has indicated that it has no interest in doing EMS training for the future, we have decided that we have to take that responsibility on ourselves. And so we are, part of this millage would be to cover the cost of putting together or implementing our own training program. We've already begun that process, and because we simply cannot wait even for the millage to get that process going. It takes about 18 months for us to train a paramedic from start to finish. And it takes an EMT, which is a lower level of licensure, it takes us about 9 months to train. But you have to be an EMT to be a paramedic. So if you combined all of that, just from start to finish to be a paramedic, it's a little over 2 years of training that an individual has to go through. And so we had to get that training program going now. And so we have begun that. We will start another paramedic program this September. And hopefully then we can restock our own turnover of personnel right here from within St. Clair County. And so that's really the issue in a nutshell. If the millage fails, and again, I don't want to sound threatening in any way, but the reality of it is we will have to reduce ambulance services to the county and to the citizens that we serve. And again, as I say, this is the time to reduce services is not at the time when demand is on the rise. And that puts us in a very, very awkward position. But quite frankly, we're like every other business. When costs exceed revenues, we have to find a way to balance the budget. And we simply do not have enough depth to reduce cost and still provide service at the levels that we're providing right now for the citizens of St. Clair County. I can assure you, folks, I am well aware of the economy right now. My fuel costs in our organization alone since January have gone from about $30,000 a month to $105,000 a month. And I have no place to get that money at this point because the people that pay for ambulance services are paying the same amount of money for a transport that they paid last year. They have not increased the reimbursement at all. And yet our costs have gone up just astronomically, as have everyone's, unfortunately. So we're in a very difficult position. We want to continue and to keep providing the services that we have provided. We believe that we have done a really good job of serving the citizens of not just East China, but all of St. Clair County. We are a nationally accredited ambulance service, one of only about 120 in the entire United States. We believe that puts us above the mark in terms of quality and standards. And we do a customer satisfaction survey on all of our customers. And our regular monthly surveys come back at about 95% satisfied based on feedback that we get from the users of the service. So we think that the public is willing to support this. And quite frankly, we don't have any choice. I have no more rabbits to pull out of my hat anymore. And without the passage of this millage, we're going to have to look at doing ambulance service very differently moving forward. So that's kind of the bad news in a nutshell. And I'm, again, really, really sorry to have to ask for a tax in an economy that is just struggling tremendously right now. But without it, we won't survive next year. And that, I think, most people realize that ambulance service is an essential service that It's one thing to have to stand in line at the grocery store a little bit longer because they don't have any checkout clerks, enough checkout clerks to move the lines along. It's a whole nother thing to wait longer for an ambulance when you're having chest pain or a heart attack or perhaps not breathing. And we absolutely do not want to do that at all. So with that, I will be happy to answer any of your questions, but we would certainly appreciate the support of the citizens of East China Township on August the 2nd. Any questions?
I do have one.
Yeah.
On the little pamphlet here, it says $50 based on 100,000 taxable value.
Right.
On this key information sheet, 3 from the bottom, it says cost of millage, $50 a year for a home valued at 200,000.
So two distinctions. The home valued at 200,000, but a taxable value of
Taxable
100,000.
value.
That's the
Got you.
distinction, yeah.
Got you.
Apologize for the confusion about
Okay.
that, but yeah.
I just have, we have been here wrestling with the cost of who pays for fire calls, and you mentioned picking people up off of the floor. We've had a considerable problem with that, and we were dealing with another issue of it tonight. And one of the problems we've learned is when they hit 911, you respond, and the fire department responds, but you really only need one. Have you ever looked into some way of being able to divvy that up a little? It might help us both.
Yeah, no, and that's a great question. I think it's a question a lot of people don't always understand. So let me explain what typically happens. We have what we call a tiered system here of response here in the county. Fire department goes as first responders because you have firefighters that live in your community. We can't have an ambulance in every community, which is just cost prohibitive, although you do have one in East China here at the hospital. But what typically happens is if our ambulance happens to be tied up on another call and someone calls 911 for a lift assist, typically what happens is the fire department is requested to go non-emergency. And the reason we do that is because we don't want that person laying on the floor to have to wait any longer than they absolutely have to. So that's an arrangement that, to be honest with you, is driven by the fire departments. I don't really dictate that policy. Okay. They're the ones that determine what calls they go on and when. And that's really done by the County Fire Chiefs Association.
We were given the impression that when they make the call, you both respond. That's not,
well, we do.
That's not true?
No, we absolutely do, but often what will happen is the fire department doesn't always get sent. If, for example, if the call is here in East China and my ambulance is at its station, normally we will just get called and the fire department would only come if we needed additional manpower. But then if the ambulance is tied up on another call, which a lot of times it is, that's when the fire department is called. And so that's probably why you're seeing so much volume, or, so many calls from the fire department, because often we are tied up on other calls.
I understand all that, but what you're saying is you do not both respond automatically to the same call.
Not on lift assists. On other types of calls, we do. So it depends on the severity of the call. That's all determined by central dispatch. When the caller calls 911,
Please.
they're the ones that make the determination on what resources should be sent at that point. So, but I will tell you, if I could, this has been a struggle with county fire departments. And we have, as an ambulance service, I don't dictate what each community does in terms of fire service. It's not my place to do that. But we have suggested to the fire chiefs that perhaps there's a better way in which we could determine when fire departments are sent and when they're not. And I will tell you, and you can talk with your fire chief for this area, I think he'll back me up on it. We have completely opposite spectrums out there. We have fire departments in this county that anytime someone dials 911, they want to be sent. And then we have fire departments that when they only want to go when it's a true life and death situation. And it's almost impossible for dispatch centers to determine which is which, because I can guarantee you, if you talk to the central dispatch director, she would tell you about once a week she gets a phone call from a fire chief that says, why did you send us on this call? And another one that says, why didn't you send us on this call? And she's pulling her hair out saying, tell me what you guys want me to do. Because everybody wants to do something different, and it's just about impossible to try to satisfy everyone, unfortunately.
Well, and you can't really determine the true nature of the call until someone really gets there.
Yeah, and you're absolutely, I
Sometimes
mean,
it
we
can be too
can,
late.
the dispatchers really do a great job, and I want to emphasize, they do a good job of trying to screen what's going on so that they can only send the resource that's needed.
Yeah.
But I will tell you, one of the triggering mechanisms that happens when the dispatcher is interrogating a caller is, are you having difficulty breathing? Well, people with back pain are having difficulty breathing because it hurts every time they breathe. That's probably not a life and death situation, but fire departments get called because the caller answers by saying, I'm having difficulty breathing. Difficulty breathing, in its truest sense, is in fact a life and death situation. So it is very confusing out there, believe me, I am well aware of that.
Yeah. Any other questions, comments? Thank you, Ken.
Okay, thank you very much, I appreciate the
appreciate you
time,
coming.
you guys.
Thank you. Good night.
Thank you.
I'm gonna leave.
Well, you're the only person
night.
that's in the audience, so no public comment now. You gotta have public comment.
Do you want me to stay for public comment?
Yeah, you gotta say something.
Good night.
Good night, thank you. I see there's nobody for public comment, so we'll move on to consent agenda. Financial reports, Marine City and St. Clair Area Fire Authority run reports for May. Park meeting minutes, May of 2022. Billing bond return list, and St. Clair River Sewer and Water Authority meeting minutes for February of 2022. Questions, comments? Motion to approve?
So move.
Support.
Support by Mr. Richley, I believe. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Carried. Okay, disbursements, we have payroll, $32,230.94. Accounts payable, $187,260.40. EFTs were $11,477.73. We have e-checks, it looks like one, $302.30, and we have a void check, $54,1450, I believe, for operating engineers. We're just not gonna pay it, I guess, right? Invoices, $175,716.44. Total disbursements, $401,573.31. Questions, comments? Clerk, please call roll.
I'll make a motion to pay the bills as presented.
Support.
Now we can call.
Roll call. Treasurer Hart?
Yes.
Trustee Babel?
Yes.
Trustee Blackstock?
Yes.
Trustee Knott?
Yes.
Trustee Richley?
Yes.
Clerk Matei, yes. Supervisor Westrick?
Yes. Full business. The second reading, proposed amended East China Township ordinance regarding fire and emergency reimbursements runs. You gotta read the whole thing, or, I guess we do. Ordinance 324, Charter Township of East China, Michigan, ordinance to the amend ordinance 290, chapter 245, involving fire and emergency reimbursement, sections 245, 2, 3, and 8. Charter Township of East China ordains, section 1, purpose. Purpose of the ordinance to amend the code of ordinances, chapter 245, 2, 3, 4, and 8. Provide provisions to allow township to recover costs incurred in connection with the certain accessible emergency services which the township provides by contract with outside municipalities, and provide for the enforcement of this ordinance. Section 2 is the amendment. Purpose, it is the purpose of the chapter to provide for charges for certain accessible services, define responsibility for such charges, and to clarify that any party benefiting from the township's contract for fire and emergency services shall be liable for payment of services rendered, and to allow for billing through the township for other departments or agencies providing assistance within the township. Responsible parties, township shall bill commercial entities or corporations determined to be responsible for certain accessible services provided by or through the township fire and emergency contract with outside municipalities. Any party benefiting from such services shall be liable for payment of the full charge of for such services rendered. When a particular service rendered by or through the fire department directly benefits more than one person or property, the owner of each property shall benefit and/or each person shall so benefit. If property protection is not involved, shall be each liable for payment of the full charge for services. Beneficiaries shall also be responsible jointly and severally for charges billed to the recipient of the cost. Accessible costs associated with the following responses, actions, or services, also referred to as accessible services, shall be jointly and severally assessed to any and all responsibility and benefit parties. A, every fire in or at a structure or on a property. B, utility line or facility failure or problem. C is a technical rescue unit. For example, means the equipment or specially trained rescue or recovery team provided by governmental or private emergency response service to provide emergency service in situations involving the technical rescue and or recovery situation. And D is a false alarm. Section 245-4, costs covered. Costs incurred by the township include but are not limited to materials, equipment, manpower, administration, and assistance provided through the township's contract for fire and emergency services with outside municipalities or outside sources or contractors, injuries or damages to people or property that result from the situation which caused the township to incur accessible costs, and any other factors deemed relevant by the township board. 245-5 is charges for services. The charge for each of the responses, actions, or services set forth in section 245-3 shall be $250. Any subsequent changes in these charges shall be set by resolution of the Board of Charter Township of East China. All charges assessed pursuant to this chapter shall become due within 30 calendar days of each date of the statement, unless an appeal is pending. Applicability charges regardless of outcome. Charges under this chapter shall be applicable and regardless of the results or outcome of services provided by or through the outside fire department with regard to the particular fire rescue service or other emergency involved. 245-7, right to appeal. Any responsible party who receives a statement of charges pursuant to this chapter shall have the opportunity to appeal the costs to the township board. Responsible party who wishes to appeal any charges shall file a written appeal with reasons for the appeal with the township treasurer within 14 calendar days of the statement of the charges. The appeal will stay all payments due until the appeal is decided by the township board. The appeal will be placed on the agenda of the next regularly scheduled or special township board meeting. Township board will consider the next request, will consider the request and will make a determination regarding the charges in the case appealed. Township board will also determine the date that any or all charges involved in the appeal will become due. 245-8, collection of charges. Township may proceed in district court by suit to collect any monies remaining unpaid and shall have any and all other remedies provided by law for the collection of said charges. Assessable costs, lien upon property. Assessable costs when not paid, including late payment and interest, shall constitute a lien upon real property in which shall be payable and collectible in the same manner as the real property taxes, including interest and penalties thereto as a cumulative remedy. To the extent allowed by applicable law, the township may pursue any reasonable party under either or both subsection B1 or 2. Any responsible party who fails to timely pay, this is B1 actually, any responsible party who fails to timely pay the costs associated pursuant to this chapter shall be considered in default. In the case of the default, the township may commence a civil action to recover the cost plus late payment penalty of 1% per month or part of a month during which the costs remain unpaid. In addition to the costs, fees, or penalties provided in the chapter, the township may recover reasonable attorney fees, court costs, court reporter fees, and other expenses of litigation by appropriate action at law against persons found to be a responsible party. Section B2, all of the costs for services that have been rendered to real personal property in the township or the owner of real or personal property in the township may be billed to the owner of the subject property. And all invoices which remain unpaid for more than 30 days shall become a lien on the property and assessed against such property. 245-9 is non-exclusive charge. The foregoing charges shall not be exclusive of the charges that may be made by the township for the costs and expenses of maintaining a fire and emergency service contract, but shall only be supplemental thereto. Charges may additionally be collected by the township through general taxation after a vote to the electorate approving the same, or by special assessment established under the Michigan statutes pertinent thereto. General fund appropriations may also be made to cover such additional costs and expenses. Section 3, severability. The provisions of this ordinance are hereby declared to be severable. And if any clause, sentence, paragraph, rule, regulation, section, or subsection is declared void or inoperable for any reason by any court, it shall not affect any or other portion, part or portion thereof, other than the part declared void or inoperable. Repeal, section 4, all ordinances in conflict herewith are hereby repealed. Section 5, effective date, ordinance shall become effective upon publication after adoption. Section 6, inspection of ordinance. Copy of this ordinance may be inspected or purchased at the Township Hall, River Road, East China, Michigan, during regular posted office hours. Questions, comments? Good.
I move for adoption of this ordinance.
Support.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Do you do not require a roll call vote for an ordinance?
I don't know.
I don't know, I'm just asking.
Yes, let's.
We might. Let's do the roll call.
Vote. Treasurer Hart?
Yes.
Trustee Babel?
Yes.
Trustee Blackstock?
Yes.
Trustee Natz?
Yes.
Trustee Richley?
Yes.
Clerk Matei, yes. Supervisor Westrick?
Yes. Thanks, Ralph. New business. Number 1, have a DPW employee successfully passed the S2 water distribution examination according to the collective bargaining agreement for non-supervisor employees. Rate of pay shall be increased from $29.80 an hour to $30.25 an hour.
So moved.
Support.
Been moved and supported to approve the pay increase for employee number 00285. All those in favor? Oh, no, we might roll call for money.
Yes.
Roll call, please.
Roll call vote. Treasurer Hart?
Yes.
Trustee Babel?
Yes.
Trustee Blackstock?
Yes.
Trustee Natz?
Yes.
Trustee Richley?
Yes.
Clerk Matei, yes. Supervisor Westrick?
Yes. Thank you. Okay. New business 2, similar, a DPW employee promote to grade 3.
It should be through.
Our DPW supervisor, Blaine, has recommended that we should employee number 00038 be moved from DPW operator level 2 to DP level operator 3. Demonstrate the ability to meet the job requirements specified in the operator level 3 job description and completed the excavator basic 40-hour training course.
So moved.
Support.
Moved and supported to approve the pay scale increase for employee 0038 to operator level 3, $29.48. Roll call, please. I guess,
Roll
right?
call. Treasurer Hart?
Yes.
Trustee Babel?
Yes.
Trustee Blackstock?
Yes.
Trustee Natz?
Yes.
Trustee Richley?
Yes.
Clerk Matei, yes. Supervisor Westrick?
Yes. Okay, new business number 3, resolution 08-2022. It's a resolution approving the contract and authorizing notice of intent for the drinking water sewer fund. And St. Clair River Sewer and Water Authority has approved it at this contract at a special meeting on May 24th, 2022. And we're looking to get the board to authorize supervisor and the clerk to execute the contract.
This is part of, in case you don't know, this is part of the rigmarole that goes along
With
the
all
fact
this,
that we're doing the drinking, the fund, and there's a special combination between the St. Clair River Sewer and Water Authority and East China that has to be done legally in order to handle the funds.
has to be
And
done
this
at
is just another
the
piece of-
authority, and then we have to do it
Yeah,
here.
This is
Yeah.
being, super,
And
the
this
whole
won't
thing
be
is
the
being
last.
done by a man. Those guys in what do they call them? The bond guys are writing
Yeah.
up all these to
Yeah.
make sure that we're all.
This won't be the last.
Blazinski's
issue,
folks, so.
right.
Would you like me to offer the
Other than that, I
resolution?
don't know anything about it, but that's why all the garblagoo. Because because there's two entities involved, unfortunately.
Is there a motion to approve the resolution for the
We
contest?
should read the resolution. Want me to read it? We need to read it.
Yeah, you read that.
Okay, Resolution 8, 2022, approving contract and authorizing notice of intent for the DWSRF. Whereas the local unit is a constituent municipality of the St. Clair River Sewer and Water Authority, which is organized under the provisions of Act 233, Public Acts of Michigan 1955, as amended. Whereas Act 233 empowers the authority to furnish the supply, treatment, and distribution of water service and to acquire, own, improve, enlarge, and extend a water supply system. And whereas the authority operates an existing water supply system that serves the local unit. And whereas Act 233 empowers the authority to finance the acquisition, construction, furnishing, and equipping of water supply system improvements. And whereas the authority and the local unit desire to acquire, construct, furnish, and equip certain improvements to the authority's existing water supply system to serve the local unit. And whereas a contract among the local unit and the authority, the contract for the acquisition, construction, furnishing, equipping, and financing of certain improvements to the authority's existing water supply system to serve the local unit, consisting generally of removing and replacing existing valves, abandonment of existing water main, transfer of existing water services with the new stop box, hydrant assembly, open cut of PVC and ductile iron pipe, directional drilling of HDPE, bypass assembly, meter replacement assembly, meter register assembly, and other related work items, including driveway and road removal and replacement.
Thank you, Sandy.
And that's it. Yep. Do we have a support?
Questions?
I'll support.
Supported by Blackstock.
I have a point of order. Do you all have page 2?
Doesn't appear to be.
Page 3?
Oh, 2
There
is, ours goes page 3 and then 2. At least mine does.
Oh, yeah, read that last sentence, maybe, number 6.
No, that's not, that's just a general statement.
Oh.
There's,
Yeah, no.
See this, the back page says 2 at the bottom.
Yep.
And then this one says 3.
but that's after the certification. It's not, is it supposed to be part of the resolution?
I don't have anything else in front of me. If you want to table it, I can go dig around, or I don't know if it
think
got
that's
lost
supposed to
in
be last
the
page.
copying, or if something happened.
I don't know what this is.
I don't know why
Number
it
6.
says number 6, yeah.
Right.
Page is just numbered down.
Is there a time constraint on this?
Well, tonight it was supposed to be done.
Yeah.
It should have been done at the last meeting.
Just read it. and we give it- I'll know that.
Okay, read the last part.
Yeah,
And
it's
if
just,
it
it's
needs
a
to
no-
be.
it notifies the residents what they
All right.
can or cannot
The
do.
contract will become effective without a vote of the electors of the local unit as permitted by law unless a valid petition requesting an election on the question of entering into the contract signed by not less than 10% of the registered electors of the local unit is filed with the clerk of the local unit within 45 days after publication of this notice. If a valid petition is filed, the contract will not become effective without an approving vote by the majority of qualified electors residing within the local unit voting on the question. Number 6, all resolutions and parts of resolutions in conflict with this resolution be and the same hereby are repealed.
Well, that's what we have, so we'll approve this. And
Okay, roll call vote.
you made a motion, it's been supported, right?
It's been supported by Blackstock. Treasurer Hart,
Yes.
trustee Babel,
Yes.
trustee Blackstock.
Yes.
Trustee Natz,
Yes.
trustee Richley.
Yes.
Clerk Matei, yes. Supervisor Westrick.
Yes. New business 4. The IRS has provided us a rate adjustment for mileage reimbursement. It's now 62.5 cents per mile. And we'd like to adopt this effective July 1st for the remaining quarters of this year. I don't even know if that's going to cover the cost of what it gas is as it is, but it's something. It's a little bit more. It's up 4 cents. Questions, comments?
I move for approval.
Mr. Knotts?
Support.
Support, Mr. Wixley. Money, so
Yep. Roll call vote, Treasurer Hart?
Yes.
Trustee Babel?
Yes.
Trustee Blackstock?
Yes.
Trustee Netz?
Yes.
Trustee Richley?
Yes.
Clerk Matei, yes. Supervisor Westrick?
yes. New business 5, MTA. Basically, it's a renewal of our membership. Approve 2022 Michigan Township Association membership with dues in the amount of $66.5302. Legal defense, the amount of $199.55.
So moved.
We have an option of selecting and approving an MTI online learning subscription. Mr. Ridgely, you got any comment on that? Because I sure don't.
In the past, I believe we did not approve the legal defense fund contribution. Does anybody remember that?
I don't think we did.
I believe that's correct.
We normally do not do that part of it.
Right.
We usually just do the annual dues, the
basic,
top part,
yeah.
Dues.
66.5302.
What about the learning? Online learning? Does anybody use that?
I remember a
I
big
think
argument.
that's something new.
I remember a big argument about that, that if we don't approve it, then something comes up, we're on our own to support our own legal action. And at that time, all the members thought that was a good idea, that we didn't need to pay in advance.
For the legal defense, bro?
Yes, yeah, that's why it did not get added in before.
Do you think we should leave it in?
Me,
Yes.
my vote would be no, we don't need that. We don't need to pay that in advance. If we have a legal problem, we'll fund it.
I mean, what type of legal defense do they provide and for what?
Right. See, we've never taken it, so I've never really gone into how
I mean,
much
it's
they
$200,
supply you
but-
or give you, what kind of
Right.
service, you know. All right.
Okay, so the motion by Mr. Ridgely was to approve what? Or would
To
you like
approve the
rephrase that?
2022 Michigan Township Association membership with the dues in the amount of $6,653.02.
Support.
Okay, so no legal defense, we're leaving that out.
Correct.
And
Yeah.
the online learning, okay?
Correct.
Moved and supported.
Okay, roll call vote, Treasurer Hart?
Yes.
Trustee Babel?
Yes.
Trustee Blackstock?
Yes.
Trustee Knott?
Yes.
Trustee Richley?
Yes.
Clerk Matei, yes. Supervisor Westrick?
Yes. I just want to say no once to throw you guys off. New business 6, we added. In front of you, here's a list of properties that we need to have cut, and right now, we're paying overtime for DPW to do it. We can't find anybody that wants to come do it. So I think, and talking with Blaine and Cindy, that we should just advertise this for bids and collect bids and get it privatized like the park is already, and go from that. So I'm looking for a motion
Well, you
to,
just,
Oh, you skipped over 6.
you just mentioned that
what's
they're
six?
doing it now on overtime.
New business 6, resolution.
That should be crossed out.
Oh.
Everyone's.
I was gonna say it's crossed out on mine, and I made this
Yeah,
one
mine's
six.
crossed
Okay.
out too.
That was
I'm-
removed.
You missed the memo.
I must have picked
You
mine
missed
up
the
early.
memo, sorry.
Too early. Okay.
You mentioned that the DPW is doing this on overtime.
That's what I
We-
understand.
we
I guess-
need to make sure that any contract we get is not for more than what we're paying the guys for overtime. I just assume pay our guys for the overtime if it's gonna be as much as what we'd have to pay somebody else for.
And I
contract.
guarantee you, Ralph, it will not be, but we will definitely look at that.
Unless we're having trouble with Blaine, you know, it simply can't meet.
His overtime rates,
meet the
we don't want
requirement.
them doing it.
The other thing I was noticing that was mentioned, they mentioned a lot of special places in Har. And I understand that the parks are being done on another contract already by Kevin. But on Elmwood and Riverside, for one, is a vacant lot that it's been a pain for years. It still is. The yard, right now, while I walked over there, the grass is up to my hip. And so somebody's got to go over and
Is
cut
that
that.
South Riverside that way, Ralph, or where?
It's, I believe it's, she knows which property
The
it is.
township property?
Nah, it's that building we tore down on the corner of Elmwood and Riverside, and guys have had to go over there twice a year and cut it, and I guess you put it on their taxes, but nobody's paying those either.
Well, eventually it'll go back to for
Yeah.
tax sale then.
Yeah, anyway, we need to get over and cut that because.
Well, we'll probably still
Or at least
continue to
send out the letter to the owner ignores it, then we gotta go cut the grass. But right now, it's a little over 3.5 feet high. It needs to get cut.
That goes under member
We have a lot
comments
of
down
little-
here.
Correct.
Yeah.
So that's under member
What they
comments.
used to
You're in a
do
long
is-
That's
section
where
of
I'm
the
gonna
meeting.
put
When
it.
the guy cut Manor Park,
Yeah.
once every 3 or 4 months, he'd run over there and run through there. Well, that's not been done for some time now.
Yeah, that,
That's a brush hogger now.
and we talked to
Yeah.
Blaine, we're gonna obviously keep our mowers and whatnot for stuff like
And I don't
that.
know, there may be other ones in the township in a similar condition, where you've got a vacant lot where the owner is not cutting it.
And, you know,
We
maybe
have a
this'll
requirement
change.
that If they don't cut it, we do and charge them for
I
it.
know.
Right,
Maybe this will change in the future, but for this year, we need to get somebody cutting these because we
yeah.
can't find anybody.
Well, I'll make a motion that we seek lawn cutting requests for bids.
Support.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Second item, new business 7 that we added, windows replacement. I did have a company come look at these windows and kind of give us some ideas, but I'd like to continue to move forward with that, and I'd like to have an approval to get have the board, we can solicit bids for the windows here. Cindy and I and PC's architect agreed to help us with no charge to send out bids for that too.
With
Do
no
we have money in the
charge.
budget for that?
She said she'd help look us over. They're not gonna charge us to administer the contract.
I don't think they really need to be involved in that. Why
I
would
don't
we?
either, but
They're windows. They're not, you
Yeah.
don't need an engineering fees and
I have the spec on them. I want 1-inch insulated glass.
Do we have
and-
money in the budget for this?
we do.
Yes.
Okay.
We're gonna advertise in the paper and on our
Just to-
website. And
Yeah, we're gonna do the same
Yeah.
fashion as this here. I think we're gonna definitely do that, and we have some people we can call, but we're definitely gonna,
Are we
We
doing
need to
closed
put it out
bids
to the
on both of
public.
these?
these
or-
will be sealed bids.
Okay.
So
I don't
I'd
know
like
if
to do the
that-
same thing with the windows and move that forward.
I'll make a motion that we authorize the supervisor to solicit bids for improvement, replacement of the windows in the township hall.
Support.
Moved and supported. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Announcements? Member comments. Ralph, you had one about Elmwood and Riverside? I'm just kidding.
No, I don't. I think I already made that announcement.
That's where it's
I gotta-
going to go in
We
minutes.
reclassified
Do I gotta
Yeah.
call
No.
Blaine and tell him to get
You
it
gotta
done? I
go over
don't
it
think so.
again. Yeah.
That's where it's going.
Anybody have anything else?
Yeah, Cindy's taking notes, she'll tell Blaine.
I do. I just want to mention that there's a copy in your packet, the FYI, that the Dollar General is applying for a liquor license.
Yeah, I was
Noticed
gonna
that.
bring that one up too.
Apparently they
I
want
don't
to.
think that's a good idea, and I think we got a say in it.
That what? They want a liquor license?
I heard it's because that other party store burnt down. That's
Right.
why.
They're buying that liquor license?
Tough.
They all carry beer
That's,
and wine.
Yeah.
that
They all
address
do?
is general.
Carry beer and wine.
They all
is the-
carry
is the
beer and
general
wine.
over here. Is the Dollar General.
Yeah.
It's
Me
not the
too.
party store down there.
No, they're doing it because the party store burnt. and-
Okay, well, it's the wrong place.
Yeah.
Closed.
Yeah.
I mean,
I wouldn't support that. I hope we've got something in our zoning ordinances that, I don't believe it even bothers the zoning law. I believe it requires, regardless of zoning, it requires the approval of the board to approve a liquor license in our township.
I think there is something.
They
Yeah.
apply directly to the state, and then we have a right to submit information about
Now,
whether we oppose it or,
Yeah.
but we really have no, in the end.
Right.
No reason to.
Why not? It's in the middle of a residential area, it doesn't need to do that.
I think it's
It
permitted
itself
use
is on
under the zoning.
It in itself is on a zone for 2. I don't know that liquor licenses are even zoned for 2, but even so, for the benefit of the community, the township board can weigh in on a liquor license and whether it's, if we say, no, we don't want one, that is considered, that for whatever reasons we put in, that's very much considered by the state when they get around to trying to issue one. They usually won't jam them down your
Well, I
throat.
think we do have them available. If we have a liquor license available, then,
Yeah,
like,
they
we
only
have a
They only
handful.
allow so
We
many
have,
in a
I
certain
used to
area.
have a list in a file years ago, and I'm not
Now,
sure where
this
that
is
right
a
now, but-
liquor license. Do you, Don't you have to have a beer and wine separate license
I don't
also,
know.
I thought?
This is a beer and wine.
I was gonna say that,
Okay.
yeah,
States it, right?
this is for that.
Okay, even though it says, yeah, liquor.
Well, I'd like to,
So they would not have hard
I'd like the
liquor,
board to
just beer and
consider
wine?
going on record to the state
Because I thought they were separate.
that we do not want a liquor store in that particular location.
If it's beer and wine, I don't have a problem with that.
Right.
I
that's
think
what was
they're already in
asking.
business, they're established, and the other store
You
is,
don't want a bunch of drunks drive,
The other store-
or empty cans tossed around the middle of the residential area. I just
well,
think
the
that's
other
a
store
poor place
was
for it.
right down the street.
Huh?
It was the same thing. The other store was right down the street, the liquor store. It was
Got
no
rid of it.
different.
Good.
It was the party store. This is actually farther away from houses than the other.
I am surprised that you're in supporting it. but
Where does
okay,
it say
I will
beer and
not
wine
say any more
only,
about it.
Herb?
The only thing I saw was at the very bottom,
And that says liquor.
tax beer and wine license.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But nothing in this,
says Liquor
everything
Control
says
Commission here, but-
sale of alcoholic liquor, so it's not very clear.
Well, it says, you know, under the administrative rule, 436.1105, the commission will consider opinions of local residents, legislative bodies, or law enforcement agencies. So if you have a concern or an opinion, by all means, you can contact them, the Southfield District Office. Phone number listed there, and for any residents out there listening, contact Township Hall here if you'd like to get a copy of this. I don't know if they have to publish it anywhere else, but anyway. And another thing related to that, I got a couple calls from Mr. Simons about their landscaping cleanup process over there, and I went and looked at that tonight before the meeting.
Yeah.
They did, they encroached on his property, they took trees and brushed down and stuff like that, but they also, and he was, well, whatever, just clean it up. And they've got stones and stuff they raked into his property and whatnot, and so, if you hear about that, I'm dealing with the building official on that to get that corrected. And if we don't get it corrected, we're gonna seize it.
We're sitting on some of their fee, aren't we?
We should be sitting on a bond, and I don't think it's been released yet, so, I just,
I was I haven't said anything, I was kind of wondering, I thought when the planning commission went through that, there was some sort of a screening of little hills and trees or something they were supposed to kind of put in the front.
Yeah, I
And
heard they
then
were still supposed
They
to be
haven't-
doing that.
Nothing put in there yet, but I don't know if it,
yeah, it's in there, but
There's
it's
some
pretty weak.
plantings there now.
It's pretty weak.
anyway, I
Right.
was wondering.
Just wanna let you know that if you get phone calls about that, though, I'm addressing that with our building official to make sure I just got a hold, Mr. Simons talked to me today about it, so. Any other questions, comments, issues? Non-issues?
AV permanent absent voter applications have gone out. If residents would like an absent voter ballot for the August and November election, they can email the township clerk at clerk@eastchinatownship.org, or give us a call or email, and we will get that out to them to sign and return, and then we will process those when we get our ballots in shortly.
Okay, anything else? Mr. Richley?
Nope, thank you.
Motion to adjourn?
Oh,
Is
so
that what you
moved,
said?
yeah.
Okay. Mr. Knotts, did you support that?
Yes.
All right, as I thought. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.